The story of St. Francis was not part of my thinking, but it happens to fit. I was going to start off by saying that we're very used to Christmas stories, right? We know the stories so well that they kind of lose their value. The story of Jesus being born in Bethlehem is a wonderful story. And it's a wonderful story. We all know the story, right? But we know it so well that it kind of softens what it's about. Christmas is a sweet story now, right? It's cute to have the baby in a pile of hay. Really? It's surrounded by animals. That's really beautiful. If we think about it, we have these two poor people who are turned away, right? Not allowed to stay in an inn, right? And they have to go out of town. It's a nice plot because we know the ending, of course, but it's a nice plot, and we lose the harshness. That's a terrible story if you think about it. Right? This is we think about Jesus coming down, the Savior, the Messiah coming, right? And he comes to an unwed couple. Remember, that's part of the plot. Joseph and Mary. So you have to explain that, right? And you have the straw, the smelly straw, the place where this is all happening. It's all terrible stuff, right? They are basically homeless people, right? And don't they, at the end of the story, have to run off to escape to Egypt? And by the way, isn't there a story about the murder of the 2-year-olds from Herod? And even the wise men, the supposedly important people, right? They snuck out of town because of Herod, right? It's a very harsh, very meaningful, powerful story, but we come to soften it up, and everybody's nice at Christmas, and we tend to think that this is a nice story. That's very good. I'd like to apply that also to the story of the Good Shepherd. We know the story so well, right? It's a cute story. It's pretty. I don't know if you like lambs. My father didn't like lambs. He was a shepherd. And he didn't like the church talking about him being a member of the flock because he thought sheep were pretty dull. And all he dealt with was a dog, right? And he whistled at the dog, and the dog rounded him up, moved from pasture to pasture. And by the way, the dog would be the one that saved all sheep. So it's a different world, but the story of one person, one shepherd, right? And with a flock of 100, right? And one gets lost, and he leaves the 99 and saves that one. Now, if there was a shepherd in the audience, and the question was, who would not leave it? Hey, I wouldn't leave the 99, but I gotta save the 99 because for one lousy sheep. No. But the story is about the lost sheep. We tend to forget that. It's about the lost sheep being found. That's what the story is about. And you rejoice because that sheep is found. So it's not really a story about Jesus. It's a story about the rest of us. So this reading, there's 3 little pieces to this reading. And the first one we can't forget. Who is sitting around the table? Who are the ones sitting around the table? And we're told, because the Pharisees asked, does Jesus know who's sitting here? Does he know that these are sinners? And I don't know, I think sinners lost its flavor in our vocabulary. It's the kind of thing we said, I call myself a sinner. Have mercy on me, a sinner. I don't think we understand what sinner meant and what the Pharisees were talking about. Who would be here around this table if we were at that time in this story? Right? Who would be there? It'd be the guy that's sitting down by 202 there with a little cardboard sign. Or the the nameless lady with the shopping cart and all her belongings in there. Right? It'd be just the poor, plain people. It'd be like the guy who dies, unfortunately, in Phoenix from heat stroke. The homeless, they are, but it's not just them. It's those who have mental disability, PTSD. It's addicts, right? It's the people, and the outcasts of our society, right? The gay and lesbian trans community, right? They are people who would fit the Pharisees' description of sinners. We tend to forget that because we have a whole different vocabulary now. But that's what the Pharisees say. Does Jesus know this? The bunch that he's hanging around with? Does he understand that? And then Jesus tells the story, so you gotta understand the context. Right? The parables are always sneaky because they're hard and they're complicated and they leave out a whole lot of stuff. But here's a story of this sheep that was saved and brought back, and the sheep, it's so great that I gotta have a party. And that's the idea. What is being saved mean? For every sinner that repents. If there is a word in Scripture that has been mistranslated, it is repent. That's not the Greek word. The original word is not feel sorry for yourself or feel bad or feel guilty in front of God and admit to. No, none of that at all. Nothing to do with it. The Greek word is, you'll have to wait because I can't think of it right now. But anyway, it means the Greek word metanoia. Okay, metanoia. And it means simply to turn towards something. The better English word is conversion. Turn towards him. And in this case, what he's saying is that Jesus, or the Good Shepherd, the Good Shepherd is happy because he is following the way of Jesus. He's following the way. And so it is worth, it's that much joy that should happen. That people, now think about who they are, who these people are, the ones who are suffering and lame and crippled and disturbed in mind or searching for answers to who they are as a person. And then to find them. That's great joy. That's choice for that. And the songs, I wish I had done my homework and checked the words of the song. It's just perfect. When my family and I left New Jersey, we had to sign a contract. You had to do everything with a lawyer in New Jersey. And he gave me a check for $42,000. Because that was, after 16 years, that was the price. $42,000, I guess today, is less value than it was then. It was 3 years of my salary at that time, right? And I put in my pocket and then all, I had to return keys and stuff, the key to the back gate and all that kind of stuff to the house. I stopped with the house. I went in there. The only thing I remember is that I got a pack of allergies. You know, and it was like the house was getting even, for walking away from me. But anyway, I took care of it, looked around to see if it's still standing and so on. Got back in the car, reached my pocket for the keys. The keys were there, but not the check. The check was 3 years. So nothing else in the bank. That's what my whole life is. So I took the car apart pretty much, loved the car. I even, to be honest with you, I even opened up the hood, Not that meant, because nothing in there meant anything to me anyway. I searched everybody for the fence. Oh, I looked at the house. I opened up the door of the house. It was right there in front of me. Crumpled like garbage paper. So my whole life. But anyway, I got that. I know what that woman felt like. And probably because I'm cheap by nature, we didn't have a party. But we should have, because that's how great I felt that. It was from panic to joy. And that's what Jesus is saying. For the one who finds the way of Jesus, It is that kind of visceral joy. Visceral joy. And that's important to realize. The word that's repeated each time is rejoice. Rejoice. And that's, so it's a good thing. But we can't be simplistic about this. And I used the title of this was hyperbole, right? So you say now, this story, this parable, is it hyperbole? So an exaggeration to make a point. And so you take it with a grain of salt, right? Don't you? But problem is, all Jesus teaching is in that case hyperbole. I mean, you think, but we got to be realistic. Jesus says, turn the other cheek. Is that hyperbole? We already know that we got to put a footnote to that. And we don't really mean every time. And I don't think Jesus taught in footnotes. If Jesus says, go sell what you have and give it to the poor, then he's got a kid, right? I mean, what you do is wind up with another poor person. Well, that's the idea, right? It's extreme. Love your neighbor. Be good to those who persecute you. That's tough stuff. I studied theology, and I don't brag about it because it was a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking, a lot of complications. I mean, think about trying to figure out the Trinity. I know Reverend Abby used to love that, but I can't understand that. The life is why you enjoy it. But I think, and salvation, right? Predestination, is grace, hard stuff, complicated stuff. But you know what? Teachings of Jesus, they're pretty plain. They're pretty straight out there, and clear enough for everybody. The thing about Jesus' teaching is that it's hard. Not complicated, but really, really hard. And it's only when you have the experience of being saved, like the lamb, or finding that coin, you see, that you can understand what it means to be a Christian. And rejoice is what we should, that's the way we should respond. I watched a YouTube version of Reverend William Barber. It's just an astounding preaching, just wonderful. He was in a great big church in Carolina, someplace. I forget which Carolina he's from, but he traveled a great deal, so it might not have been there. But a great big church, and there's this large choirs. And he's in the pulpit, right? And he walks up, and he was sitting down, he walks up, and he stops, and he holds the choir, stops singing. He says, I can't hear you. He said, do you have a reason to come to church and not be joyful? Because you are following the path of Jesus. You have a reason not to be joyful. He said, I want to hear you sing, and I want to hear the joy come like that. Well, you can keep the TV was almost bouncing around. The choir was, but you could feel the energy in the choir just raise up. And then the people singing, and everybody stood up just in spontaneously. And so, and that struck me. So we are blessed, right? We are disciples. We claimed the way, right? We lived the way, so joy should be ours. And that is what the story of the Good Shepherd should be like.